Welcome to the Sleeping Barber podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, action.
Mics are hot. Welcome back to another episode of our Barbers Brief. If you're a new listener around here, Marc and I like to use this as a forum to kind of share things that have caught our attention over the last couple of weeks. We like to highlight our marketing moment, also known as a case study. And of course, we get into and discuss our ad of the week. Marc, good morning. How are you, my friend?
Morning, V. This is what a great day. It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
It's still sunny. It's not a Monday, and it's warm. We had a doubleheader on the NFL last night. That was great.
Couple great games there.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah. It's good.
What caught your news this week, V, in the Ethernet?
In the Ethernet, as I was navigating the Ethernet, there's a couple stories I'm going to highlight today. But the first one was Nike is changing its iconic "Just Do It" slogan.
I saw that.
To win over an anxious generation.
I'm curious to hear what you found out about this, because I was wondering why they did this.
Right? Because it goes against anything and everything that we know. However, Nike's is working one of its most famous slogans in marketing history, the "Just Do It" moniker, has been brands' rallying cry since 1988, tied to grit, achievement, pushing through limits. But as Gen Z increasingly faces anxiety, burnout, and questions around purpose, Nike's testing a new line. Why do it? Now, instead of pushing people to act without hesitation, the shift reframes the brand's message around intentionality and mental health, recognizing that not every action is worth doing, and sometimes pausing has value. Now, this isn't just a slogan swap. It's Nike's attempting to stay culturally relevant by softening a hard-edged performance message into something that is a little bit more empathetic. Mm-hmm. Still, the risk is clear. Just Do It is one of advertising's strongest assets. And even the subtle changes raise questions of whether Nike is adapting smartly or meddling with brand equity, right? So the biggest takeaway for me is Nike's move shows that even the most iconic brands can't stand still, but there is a line between evolution and erosion of equity has never been thinner.
It's funny enough, there's another, when I get to one of the stories I found, there's a theme around this refresh and repositioning the brand. I don't know. It's interesting. I guess, Nike's Nike. They've been, generally speaking, very successful over time. It's interesting that they're trying this out. I guess time will tell to see if it works or not.
Yeah, is this enough of a shift in a slogan, for example, that can actually create, because they have been struggling, right? As a overall, all the incumbents, we've talked about the Hokas, the On brand, et cetera, and a lot of people and consumers are moving away from Nike for what was traditionally very dominant in the athletic space. So maybe this attempt is just to subtly change one of their long-lasting slogans. And who knows, maybe it's just a temporary swap, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you could ever really go away with just Do It.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be crazy to me that they would get rid of Just Do It and just why do it? It may just be one of those campaigns that just show up.
For a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Just kidding. Just do it.
Just do it. Why are you thinking why you should do it? You should just do it.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. What caught your attention?
Well, I saw an article that was, I think, really interesting. We've talked about this quite a bit. Marketing metrics that will matter most in the age of AI agents.
Okay.
A guy by the name of Bernard Marr had wrote this. I found it on Apple. And so, you know how we love the death of stories. Well, this could be the death of marketing as we've come to know it. For the last 20 years, we've been obsessing over a slew of foundational performance metrics like click-through rates, bounce rates, sessions, page views, and now they may be as useful as call waiting, VCRs, and fax machines. So no surprise here, the AI agents are starting to make buying decisions for us. We've talked about that with the integration of Shopify into other platforms like ChatGPT and things. The funny thing, I guess not so funny, aren't like humans. They don't behave like humans. They don't get distracted by Instagram ads or clever copy. They don't go down rabbit holes. They just parse data, extract what they need, and then move on. There's this change in, I would say, behavior or acceptance, maybe, that 24% of consumers are already cool with letting machines handle their purchases, and 32% of Gen Z. So there's this appetite. Like if you think about even Amazon and talking to Alexa, right? And there's a whole bunch of things there that just we're okay with the way that they go ahead and buy things. So the challenge is that our entire digital measurement framework that has been built around the channels primarily, and human behavior, like, you know, people are going to get distracted and do those things, is kind of coming under question. So we're selling to algorithms. I've heard this actually a number of times recently, that some of the people I've been speaking with, clients and from the marketing association as well, are talking about traffic being down 15, even upwards of 50%.
Wow.
Largely because of AI overviews. People aren't clicking through anymore. The zero-click search is real. You know, there's things like travel sites, watching GPT plan and itineraries without a single visit. I actually did that a few times now for upcoming trip.
Actually not bad.
Yeah. And so, there's things now that are like more relevant to the world that we're in terms of metrics. So, data structure quality, API accessibility, verified reviews, authority signals. It's just changing a lot around how we're going about doing this. And so the takeaway isn't that AI is just another channel like Pinterest or TikTok. It kind of rewires everything, is forcing us to think about how customers are getting informed, find and buy products. And I think it's really hard to know how this is all going to play out. But companies that are asking the hard questions about why we do things the way we do are likely the ones who are going to be the most prepared for the agentic future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, at the end of the day, it'll be machines talking to machines. We as, human intelligence, HI, if you will.
Oh,
right? That's not a bad one.
That's good. I like it.
We'll need to somewhat, stay close to this, but the reality is we're finding information a lot quicker than we ever have before. And I think like that barrier to the information has been drastically reduced. For me, it will be interesting is like how these platforms choose to monetize this, right? Because again, it's almost like your SERP is completely reimagined. You're moving away from traditional search sources. You're using these platforms instead, and they're housing so much information. The crazy thing though with all of this is how do we make sure it's actually curating the most recent information? Because if you check some prompts, they're still using indexed pages, right? And that's on us as practitioners and advertisers to make sure that our SEO is up to game and where it needs to be, and make sure like you have to like create different sitemaps now for LLMs. Like there's a huge process here that will take some time. But what I love about it is like the focus back on traditional SEO and how to make sure the content is constantly being refreshed for a lot of these conversational language models, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Well, I mean, who knows where this is going to go, but it's definitely a moment in time.
Absolutely.
What else you got?
All right. I think this is the last time we'll be talking about Sydney Sweeney.
I'm actually predicting it won't be.
You don't think so? Well, who knows? Wait,
it might be a little dramatic foreshadowing.
I wanted to kind of bring it all back and like what was the actual aftermath from all of this? So there was a great article in Adweek that kind of talked about this. So for those that I don't want to say have been living under a rock, for those that haven't been caught up with this story, American Eagle Sydney Sweeney campaign became a lightning rod for headlines, with critics labeling it too woke or even harmful. But most of that noise came from outside of the brand's core audience. So among Gen Z, the customers American Eagle actually cared about, the response was mostly meh, like wasn't kind of lukewarm, I guess you can call it. The testing itself, we always like to root ourselves in data. The testing itself showed that the work landed as average, so neither a breakthrough nor a flop. But here's the twist, right? While the internet raged, the business delivered. American Eagle's Q2 sales rose 6% year over year to $1.2 billion, suggesting the campaign resonated enough with its target demo to support its growth. In other words, like the backlash was more a cultural, maybe theater, than a commercial risk. Now, what is the bigger lesson here? And this is for me, like we have to remove sometimes these echo chambers, because you would scroll LinkedIn during that time. Everyone was up in arms, right? The bigger lesson here is like hot takes don't equal impact. Roger Martin has said that anytime he talks about, when something goes viral, what matters isn't whether outsiders approve it, but whether your audience connects and whether that connection moves the business. Because at the end of the day, it's just a dollars game. So I would argue noise isn't the same as impact. The real test of a campaign is how your customer responds, not how loudly everyone else is talking about it. And I would say, dare I say that this campaign was a success?
For sure. Yeah,
right?
If you're them, if you're sitting at American Eagle, 100% success. It like drove dramatic growth. The share price is way up. on the year.
Oh, right. The share price too was impacted. You're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And largely because they, the giant spike was because of the business results that they reported for the Q2 earnings.
Yeah. So it just begs the question, right? Like, listen to your audience.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think it's funny because I went into an American Eagle for back to school shopping because my kids are that age. And I was asking them about it, and they didn't really care.
Right?
It's not a thing. I mean, they're 12 and 14. So it's
sure.
I don't know if they really appreciate all like the ins and outs of it, but I'm like, is Sydney Sweeney like that big deal? And they're like, nah, I just want jeans and I like their jeans. Like I don't know how much of it affected them, but we ended up there. And then inside of the store, I was like, oh, look at all the in-store signage and POP stuff that they've got with Sydney in it. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Last story here. What'd you find?
Well, I found a story. Remember brand purpose? Yeah. Are consumers aware to care? Some of our friends at the Ehrenberg Bass Institute published a new report, and it's fascinating, I think. So as an industry, we went through the whole brand purpose phase, and there's still a lot about it that I think people hang on to as like, this is the thing. We talked about benefits of being purpose-led, like increased sales, stronger affinity to customers, more customer loyalty, better brand differentiation, premium pricing, and so on and so forth. There was no end to the benefits of purpose.
And you couldn't even speak against it at the time. Do you remember?
Totally. Yeah.
Like if you were against it,
if you don't save the whales.
Yes. Anyway,
there was a comment, I can't remember who said it, but from Hellman's, like, if I need, the purpose of mayonnaise is to make my sandwich better. There's no other purpose. So
true.
The Ehrenberg Bass took a look at this, and they just published this report. It's available for members and non-members.
Mm-hmm.
So they surveyed close to 3,000 consumers across 3 countries, the US, UK, and Australia, and asking these people about their level of awareness of the brand purpose for some exemplary purpose-built brands. And so these are the best brands in the world. Like, you might recognize some of them: Ben & Jerry's, Dove, Lush, Nike, Patagonia, The Body Shop. Like, and then there's a couple other brands that are more regional for UK and Australia. But so Newman's Own is another one too that might be recognizable. So they asked those people, do you know what the purpose is? And they surveyed them. They also did a control group to figure out, they faked it and asked people to pick ones, and then they just see how much guessing there was. So there were differences in each country, but on average, and again, these are the best purpose-built brands with like 20 years of promotion behind their purpose and all that. Remarkably, the average purpose recognition was 18%. So just a little bit less than 1 in 5. So meaning that customers, like 1 in 5 customers guessed or got it right, that they could identify the purpose of each company. And when they looked at the control groups to see, if people could guess the dummy purpose statement right, they guessed it right 9% of the time.
Oh, gosh.
So so if you do the 18% minus 9%, you might actually be only at 9% of people that they surveyed recognize the purpose of the organization correctly. So the point here is that the majority of customers, if the majority of the customers for the world's leading purpose-led brands don't know about their purpose, can it really have all those benefits? And it's not to say that the purpose is a bad thing. Like it's a good idea. It's a good idea to have purpose for your company and to want to do good things from a company perspective. But there's not a whole lot of evidence right now to support purpose as a marketing strategy and as a way to differentiate or as a way to, influence premium pricing and stronger brand, because people just don't even know that it exists. Like they don't know what it is.
And I wonder if this has also been put under a microscope now, where share of wallet is decreasing and consumers are a lot more mindful where they put their money. And at the end of the day, are we in a more of a price-based economy? I think we are. People are going to prioritize. These are generalizations I'm making right now. But personally, I'm also looking at things through a different lens than I've ever have before. And I wonder if it's just because the environment that we're operating in. And I'm curious to see how a lot of these brands, and by the way, I don't even know what Nike's purpose is.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. I would get it wrong.
I think I would get it wrong.
Yeah.
And I wonder the difference between being prompted versus just being asked as well. Anyways, I think it's a really interesting shift, if you will, and there's more and more data. I know Marc Ritzen's also been up in arms about it as well. Like, this is not having purpose is not a marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It's if as an organization you want to do good, just do good. That's fine, right? Don't assume that consumers care.
Yeah, totally. So V, we are on to the marketing moment.
Got milk?
I do. I actually have 2 kinds of milk upstairs. Lactose-free and organic.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's been a 30th anniversary revival of the original Got Milk campaign. So there's a couple things here. While this is still very early, I don't have all the results. I thought I wanted to bring some attention to it because I think it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves over time. So, quick summary. Milk consumption has been declining for years. Plant-based alternatives have eaten market share. Recent data suggests the slight stabilization, slight uptick in dollar sales of dairy milk, despite continued volume declines. The CMPG is using the anniversary as a way to reconnect with consumers and emotionally and visually with something iconic. Everyone remembers the Got Milk campaigns. And if you recall at the time, it was always originating around professional athletes.
Yeah.
Right. So they deployed a traveling pop-up photo studio across California, so San Diego to Sacramento, where ordinary people could pose with a milk mustache, having their photo taken and receive framed posters. The photographer Aldo Chacon was hired to shoot these portraits, chosen explicitly capturing diversity and authenticity, both in people and in style. So there's been over 12,000 portraits that have been taken in California tour, over 1,000 posters printed so far. Now, billboards, wild postings, and out-of-home ads across California, plus digital and social amplifications. Now, for the first time in nearly 30 years, a campaign is focused less on celebrities and more on everyday people, community leaders, hometown heroes, using real people as icons. Now, the goal and maybe the strategy of all this was, again, reconnect emotion with people who may have nostalgia or awareness of the Got Milk, but aren't seeing it in their everyday lives anymore. Their goal was also to find a way to modernize the brand identity, authentically diverse, real people, move away from that polished, celebrity-based aspirational imagery that they used nearly 30 years ago, counter milk's decline. So both from a competition, plant-based milks, etc., from changed consumption habits. The aim was not just awareness, it's relevance. And finally, create experiential touch points. So the pop-ups allow consumers to participate, not just view. That builds on both the brand love and potentially social content that they're using and repurposing as UGC, etc. So some early signals that they're seeing. So we talked about the 12,000 photos that are already taken, over 1,000 posters given out. There's a lot of anecdotal buzz as well. People are posting their portraits publicly, visibility through out-of-home placements. The market trend data, milk volume is still down slightly, 0.3%, but dollar sales are up, approximately 4.6% up in sales in most recent period. Indicates people may be paying more, perhaps choosing premium over specialty milks. Also, plant-based milks are seeing some cooling off as well. Price sensitivity and consumer preference for simpler ingredients lists are cited as a reason why. Now, there's a few things here for me, and I think like one thing I wanted to kind of pose to you as a discussion prompt, if you will, was, does this feel more like a nostalgia play to you, or is this actually meaningful reinvention?
Yeah, I think I was listening to you go through that. The thing that sticks out to me about the campaign is that we've seen this actually in a whole bunch of cases now.
Yeah.
The McCain chips one is the one that came to my mind when the chips are down thing. Using real consumers in campaigns is actually a really apparently common playbook that seems to be pretty effective. So in terms of it being a nostalgia play or a meaningful reinvention, I think it's both. Like, I think it's a reinvention for people who didn't see the milk campaign because that was 30 years ago, and there's a whole bunch of people who are younger. But for people like us that remember it, like I remember the Michael Jordan Got Milk thing.
Absolutely.
It's a nostalgia play. And so in both cases, it's really about refreshing memory structures, building and refreshing memory structures. And I think I cringed a bit about the brand love thing. I had like this visceral reaction. But I think it's also one of those things where brand love, I think we want people to think about, that people love our brands, but really I think what it is that it's relevant.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? And we just want to label it as something cooler and sexier.
Yeah.
But it's both nostalgia and meaningful to me.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I guess in my mind, the Got Milk is a great brand platform, right? And I think a way to revive it right now or extend it or whatever the case may be, I think makes sense. It's very simple. People can resonate with it. You talked about the nostalgic element for those that would have remembered the original campaign, but also finding ways to connect with, consumers today. I think they should continue to lean into it as a platform. And again, you could bring an anthemic campaign to life again around it. But the reality is, nostalgia alone won't sell the milk. But if you combine nostalgia, participation, and authenticity, it might just do the trick where it starts moving the needle once again for that. So, I don't know. Watch this space.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting for sure. Yeah, and I think there's like the idea of what's old is new again. Like, you don't have to completely blow up everything you've done in the past to be successful. It really, I think that's the part that is really interesting with creative that I find fascinating, is that you can reimagine the same story so many different, like how many versions of Star Wars are there right now?
Seriously.
Seriously. There's another new one coming out next year, I think, or 2 years from now. But we love it because we know it. Yeah. We know what's going to happen. We just don't know all the specific details.
Yeah. No, great point. All right. Out of the week. What blew your socks off?
Well, I promised you or alluded to this before that this is I'm going to talk about a jeans ad, but not that one.
I love it.
Yeah. So there's a new look at Lee jeans. Remember Lee jeans?
I do remember Lee jeans.
Yeah.
They're back?
They're back, baby. And so there's a new campaign that they've got called Built Like Lee.
But did you have a pair of Lee jeans?
No, I never. So I was a weird kid. Like I never, for more than one reason. But I didn't start wearing jeans until university. Okay. And truth to be told, I peed my pants in grade 3.
And scarred you for life.
And it felt I was wearing jeans, and it was the weirdest feeling. It was so uncomfortable. So I didn't wear jeans until I was for like 20 years.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it was awful. So anyway, but then I really liked jeans. So I kind of missed a whole lot of those kinds of jeans.
Okay.
But anyway, when the Sydney Sweeney's thing came out, I started looking around to see what other jeans there are and jean brands that I can see if the effect was just about a category effect or if it was actually because of Sydney Sweeney. So as it turns out, there's a company called Contour Brands that owns Lee Jeans, owns Wrangler, which you might also remember.
Oh, yeah.
And they recently bought Helly Hansen, one of our former brands that we used to work with. Yeah. And so what's really interesting is like all these brands, all these jean brands are doing really well, and they have very similar cyclical patterns. And in part, I think because of like back to school shopping and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But so Lee Jeans, part of Contour Brands, launched the Built Like Lee campaign. So this is their first brand equity campaign in over a decade. The ads themselves are again showing real people in everyday moments. They're not studios. They're not perfect lighting. They're trying. I mean, it's really well done.
It is well done.
It's not like, shot on an iPhone. But they're trying to get people in authentic moments in really classic pieces that feature their products.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really great music track in the background that's got a really cool vibe. And then in timing wise, I just find this really fascinating because we have had this American Eagle campaign running in so many of these conversations we had from Sydney Sweeney, and there's a whole bunch of, backlash and buzz and all that kind of stuff. This is not that. This is no celebrities, no manufacturer moments. No. They're just, it's about the craft of the campaign and the connection with an audience. I find it super interesting that their approach with building, we talked about this even just today, the mental availability part.
Yeah.
That's so prominent in Ehrenberg Bass Institute work. Talking about refreshing brand structures without alienating existing buyers. So I think Lee's trying to do that with her campaign. And it's a 135-year-old brand with a lot of heritage. And so they still put the product front and center. And so they're not reinventing Lee, they're refreshing it. They're reintroducing it to a whole new audience. I also was taking a look at their earnings call transcript, and they talk about in there that the digital business is up high in single digits, and the brand equity metrics are all moving in the right direction. But this campaign is really about a turnaround strategy. The revenue has been down 6% globally, and so they're betting that this rebuild from a brand equity point of view first, and then chase after distribution optimization is really important. From a market perspective, the Contour Brands has crushed American Eagle over the last 5 years. They're up 278% versus American Eagle is only up 52% relatively. I mean, 52% is pretty good, but and so there's a bit of like a tortoise and hare story here.
Mm-hmm.
This year, today, American Eagle shot up like dramatically, especially after their earnings report. Yep. And so there's a bit of like I think a viral celebrity approach that they're getting rewarded for. But I think Lee's approach is an interesting contrast to, it's not necessarily about the viral, it's about you can build equity and build brand with sort of this tortoise approach, which I think is really interesting. And it reminds me of something we talk about. Sometimes the best marketing isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most reliable one, the most relevant one.
That's fair.
And I think it really will be interesting to see these two different philosophies playing out over time.
No, I agree. And the ad's really tasteful, really well done. Obviously, when I was watching it and you mentioned like it wasn't, lit up and stuff like that, I'm like, wow, this is still a really nice ad. I don't know. There's stuff there for sure. But no, you know what? The funny thing is like, I haven't thought about Lee jeans since you brought it up today. I don't even remember the last time. I would have been maybe like junior high or high school at the latest. Even though I think at that time they were like, their brand image was wearing out. Like Tommy Hilfiger was a thing.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a little throwback.
Yeah. And that's your ad of the week, V.
All right. Coming up next week. What do we got coming up next week?
Well, we're in debate right now.
We're in debate.
Yeah. It could be a really cool episode, which will come eventually, about media planning.
Yes.
But TBD on that one. We just have to go through some editing process and approval process. I think it will be that one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, stay tuned, everybody. It'll help you out definitely going into Q4 here for sure.
Yeah. All right. And with that, that's the Barber's Brief, V.
That's the Barber's Brief. Thank you, everyone, for keeping us in your ears for yet another week. We'll see you all in the next one.
All right. Ciao.
Ciao.